Hello and welcome back to another video. Today is Thursday, April 19th, and I will be talking about communication in a relationship, because as far as I'm concerned, it's the most important part of a relationship, since the whole essence of a relationship is based on social principles. You're interacting with people, and humans interact through communication. That's why it's so important to get the right message across so it doesn't get lost in translation. It's based on essentially what you can say about yourself to get it across to the other person so they can have a better understanding of you. This video is coming from a point of view where I'm talking about friendships, but I'm sure you can apply it to any relationship. This will be part 1 of 2 because part 2 will be focused on social anxiety. So this video will just mostly be focusing on the general ideas about communication in a relationship and what you should try to focus on in order to make it more healthy communication. For my second video, I'll more give tips for socially anxious people in a conversation because it can be more difficult to get what you're trying to say across. One of the things I think is very important is to respect yourself. Because in a relationship, if you're thinking about it between two people, you are literally half of the relationship. It involves you and it involves the other person. Without respecting yourself and your beliefs, values, morals, whatever, you're almost disrespecting the relationship as a whole because you're not putting yourself into it. What I'm trying to say is that you in general is valid. I think by respecting yourself, what I mean is regarding yourself as important and valuable and what you have to say as important. By doing this, it also respects the other person because it shows if you can give yourself respect, then you can give them respect. So kind of if you have a say for yourself, then you understand that the other person can talk about however they feel. In a relationship, most of the time, you want to have some form of bond that will hold you together. And I personally think that this is by contributing. So if the relationship is half of you, then that means you have to put in effort to keep it going, because a one-sided relationship doesn't work well. So you have to share yourself. Even if you're just having a conversation and someone asks how are you, then it's important for you to expand and talk about your day and how you're actually truly feeling. And through doing this, you can even find mutual interests. And it doesn't just have to be talking about things either, although, because there's body language. But if you're completely blocked off, then the other person can't really interact with you much. You can't get much out of a wall. It's a block. It's a block in the relationship. So if you are reluctant to open yourself up, it's reluctant to progress the relationship anymore. And by progress, I mean expand and deepen, because after a while there's only so many things you can talk about over and over again, Next point, communicating rationally, addressing problems when they arise or when you feel your values or whatever aren't aligning, or you don't exactly like what the other person is saying. You should be allowed to bring it up and talk about it. Seriously, if you feel oh my gosh, I better not say anything about this, I better just hide my feelings deep inside, otherwise they'll get mad and then I won't have a friend because I have to agree with absolutely everything they do. No, I definitely don't agree with that. You should be able to speak up. It again comes back around to you having a right or a voice in the relationship. You're allowed to disagree with other people. You don't have to abide by absolutely everything they say, otherwise you're in a very toxic relationship. Addressing problems when they come up and talking about it rather than avoiding it is helpful, because then they don't all add up and create these bad feelings towards someone. Because sometimes if I just don't worry about a problem, I'm I don't really want to think about it or fix it, or it's not that big of a deal, even though I genuinely feel something's problematic, then over time things will build up and up, and I won't really know that it's happened until it's too late, if you know what I mean, because I just get this feeling inside me that I kind of dread talking to the person, which should not happen. Obviously, you want to enjoy their company, not try to avoid it. so then they don't add up and eventually lead to the downfall of your relationship. You can like build from there. It keeps the relationship positive, like a fresh but stronger start. Like once you get over something, you'll like be like, oh, okay, like we've gone past this, we've figured it out, so you know, like we can move on from here. So you can just like keep going instead of letting it hold you back. And it builds trust in the relationship. This is a huge one. Trust is so important because not only does the other person now know that you feel comfortable talking to them about things that might be problematic, but they're aware that you're like mature about it, so they will come to you. Like it works both ways. It shows assertiveness rather than passive aggressiveness, which means that what you're trying to say becomes clearer because you're expressing it like outwardly instead of just like keeping it inside and expecting people to understand what you're going through, which isn't possible if you don't like give away anything about it. You can talk about more things because the other person now knows that you are open. You are opening yourself up by talking about the problems. And sometimes you'll even discover new things and like see things from their point of view. Like where you're actively trying to understand what the other person is feeling, you know, like a compromise kind of thing. Just, I guess through communication in general, it doesn't necessarily have to be about the problem, but you develop a deeper understanding of the person and how they communicate things in general, like what their body language means, and if they say something that you might consider passive aggressive, it's really just them trying to express themselves in the best way they know how. So you just like, you kind of like learn about how they, in particular, choose to address things. And then you don't have to assume so many things about the person, so you don't have to think about it and worry about it and think, oh my god, I'm so like insecure, what if they hate me? This must mean that they don't like me or don't want to hang out with me. Some people think you can just have a relationship based upon like common interests, which is true. Like you can go to the arcade every Saturday and play some spaceship shooting games or whatever. But I feel like that just keeps the relationship on such a low level. There's nothing wrong with being casual. Casual is great. But you know what else is great? Having a real friend that understands you. I get that sometimes it can be hard for people to open up, or maybe closeness isn't really a thing you were looking for. But again, by talking about it, you can like get the other person to be on the same level as you, so they're not wanting more or less than you are, you know? I'm just gonna insert this here right now because I just thought of it, because one thing that absolutely drives me insane, and it's so common and so unfortunate, is that people would rather just avoid problems. Like, most people hate confrontation, which makes sense, you know? You don't want to get your feelings hurt, you don't want other people's feelings to be hurt, but sometimes this confrontation is actually better off than just keeping it inside. It just clarifies it, so really there's less feelings hurt in the end. Plus people like truth and loyalty and honesty. I feel like I didn't do those categories enough justice to explain how important they are. Thanks for watching.